Good day everyone. This video is all about the information security officers. My name is Ira Sherie Lunday and I will discuss further all about the information security officers. Introduction. The role of Information Security Officer or ISO includes the responsibility of effectiveness securing the organization's data systems and information resources. They hold the balance between security and getting the job done. Proficient ISO can network well and bridge the gap through their communication skills between managers and the system administrators. ISOS understands the threats and risks to corporation and corporate technology. They identify best practices and utilize them to protect information resources, and must effectively communicate these best practices to everyone in the organization. And finally, a strong ISO utilizes their knowledge to create a diversified protection strategy. In this chapter, we will discuss the ethical issues facing the ISO. This includes hacking, penetration testing, viruses and worms, encryption, network security, and personal security. First, we will discuss further the issue about hacking. Hacking, computer hacking is a form of malicious attack whereby a person known as a hacker. A hacker breaks into a computer system that they are not authorized to use. This includes attempts to bypass the security mechanism of an information system or network for the purpose of obtaining damaging information. In this section, we will discuss the different types of hacking scenarios and the corresponding ethical choices that must be made by the ISO in relation to each one. This includes operating systems attacks, cracking passwords, and spoofing. Hacking for business warfare. Is it just a part of business? Your boss comments that he thinks your competitor's web page has guessable uniform resource locators or URL and shows you a couple of examples. He then asks you to see if you can get more information from their website. He mentions that all companies do this to their competitors and it is normal in the industry. Will you hack for your boss to get the competitive edge on other businesses or out of a desire to keep your job? In this scenario, the boss of the company is asking the employee to see if they can get more information from the website of their competitor's company. Now, the question is, will you hack your competitor's business just to keep your job? Giving into distributed denial of service. Hacktortionist, do you pay? A hacker contacted the chief or executive officer or CEO of your company and demanded a payment of $35,000 or he will incur damage to the system. If your company does not pay, the hacker will launch a distributed denial of service or DDoS attack. This attack will cost your company far more than $35,000 requested from the hacktortionist if it is successful. The CEO of your company asks you, the ISO, what you recommend and how to respond. What do you say to him? In conservative, your job as ISO is to ensure the security of the system. A DDoS attack will take down the system and cost many times the amount the hacker requested. There may also be irrevocable damage done in the process. Even though this behavior is unethical, advise the CEO to pay the hacker and contact the appropriate authorities to track them down. In liberal, do not pay off the hacker, and lest copycats will prey on your company. Since you are forewarned, secure the systems and bring in extra help for recovery, as well as to track an identified hacker. Report the threat immediately to the proper authorities. In the summary, corporations give in to extortion for two primary reasons. Number one, the cost of recovering from a DDoS attack is greater than the pay-off amount. Number two, the reputation of the business faces ruin in the media if the results of such a destructive attack are relayed to the general public. This is especially true if the company processes personal data such as credit card numbers or medical information. Hacking for education. Is it just about learning? For some hackers, hacking is an educational process. It is about learning operating systems and system weaknesses, not making a name from themselves or performing destructive activities like other egomaniac hackers who want to hear their alias name in the daily news. Is this type of hacking more acceptable than hackers who want to be famous? In conservative, no form of hacking is acceptable. Breaking into someone's house just to test your locksmith skills and see how quiet you can be, even if you do not remove or look at anything in the house, is still breaking and entering. The same is true with hacking. The motive does not justify the activity. In liberal, hacking for education is basically inappropriate under most circumstances. However, if you have no negative intent, this is ethically more forgivable than someone with malicious intent. Even if you report the vulnerabilities you find to the company you hack into, it is still not right ethically. The summary of this situation is there is not an ethically correct reason to hack into someone else's computer system. The only organizations that may allow their employees to hack other systems is government or military agencies for the purpose of national security. In this type of scenario, your actions may be honorable. In any other case, stay away from hacking unless you are performing authorized penetration tests for your own company. OS attacks. Go after the bad guy. Hackers and worm writers frequently make operating system attacks on Microsoft systems because many hackers do not like the ethics of Microsoft. Is it appropriate to attack a company because they have a bad reputation in the industry or their peers or customers view them as unethical? In conservative, hacking of any type is ethically wrong regardless of your feelings towards the business you attack. You would be stooping to the level of the company you are trying to punish. In liberal, business is war, and sometimes the only way to balance out the skills with an unethical company is to play the game too. However, you do need to consider the other people it affects besides just the company. Hacking also affects all of the users of their software, and the businesses of those users may be negatively impacted. The summary is that the footprints of Microsoft software is so large that it is not clear a significant number of attackers are actually targeting them. Although hacking another company's computer system is unethical, there is often a round of applause when an attack on an unethical business occurs. You must decide what sits right with you. Cracking screensaver passwords. Should you or shouldn't you? You need to install a patch on a user's computer and they are out to lunch. They have a screensaver password, which you could easily crack. Do you do it? In conservative, avoid cracking a user's screensaver password and simply wait for them to return from lunch. This sets a poor example for the users. Even though you know what you are doing as an ISO, others without as much knowledge and access as you may see what you do as an example and try to do the same. In liberal, cracking a user's screensaver password is not a big deal. Just get into the machine and do your job. This happens quite often. Every time you perform updates after hours, you must do this anyway. Other employees must understand that this is part of your job. The summary is the ISO must set an example for the rest of the company. In most cases, it would be wise to set the right ethical example of not cracking others' passwords. However, when you have to get the job done, you must do it at times. Spoofing, does it serve a purpose? Internet Protocol or IP spoofing often occurs on a secure systems by super hackers who are not out to do any malicious damage. They are just trying to outdo renowned security gurus. Is this type of spoofing acceptable since they do not damage the system and they do show you your system's weaknesses so that you can fix them? In conservative, spoofing in any of its form is unacceptable behavior, even if you do not have malicious intent. It is not your place to point out the security weaknesses in another person's system, especially for the thrill of getting one up on a security guru. In liberal way, there is something good about spoofing renowned security gurus. This type of play between sharp technologies helps identify security weaknesses as long as no damage occurs. This prevents future damage from a malicious source. The summary in this scenario is technologies like to outsmart each other. It is a game to them. Sometimes these games can help serve security for each other's organizations, and other times it just eats up valuable resources and energy. At its worst, this behavior accidentally causes destruction. Penetration test. Penetrating testing is the process of ethically authorized hacking and proving a corporation's information systems and networks to determine potential security weaknesses or vulnerabilities that a malicious attacker might exploit. The penetration testing method involves an investigation of all security features of the system in question. The penetration tester then attempts to breach security and penetrate the system and the network. The tester simulates the hacker by using the same attack scenarios, methods, and tools of a real malicious attack. After the test, the penetration tester submits a report on the system vulnerabilities and suggests procedures for implementation to make the system more secure. Testing security vulnerability. Should you help the ISO? An information technology employee wants to test the company's computer security vulnerability level. In the process, she discovers a major flaw in the computer security. Not wanting to get in trouble for hacking the company's computer system, she writes malicious code that will help her fellow co-workers, including the ISO, discover the vulnerability themselves. Is this type of behavior ethically inconservative? Performing a system vulnerability test without the consent of the ISO is completely inappropriate. Writing malicious code to point out the weaknesses discovered is just plain crazy. She not only went out of bounds on this one, but also attacked the company to avoid communicating what she found. The employee knows what she did is ethically wrong and exemplifies this by the way she chose to shroud herself after the fact. In liberal, although although performing a penetration test without prior consent of the ISO is against policy. In this case, it was informative and showed initiative. She should have stopped at that point and presented her findings to the ISO. She was wrong in writing malicious code to point the problem out to her co-workers. In summary, trying to help the ISO by finding weakness can cause more damage than they prevent. It is better to avoid helping the ISO since they are the experts, not you. If you do find a security weaknesses, immediately bring it up to them. Never launch malicious code at your own company for any reason, even if your intentions are good. Appropriate hacking to determine weaknesses. Know what you are doing. You have just completed a training course on hacking. Exercising the course material you have just learned, you begin penetrating your company's computer security to see if there are any existing vulnerabilities. Is this appropriate action to take as the ISO? In conservative, even if your intention is to check the integrity of the systems, which lie under your realm of protection, hacking may bring about damage to operations. Since you just took the course, you may not have the expertise yet to perform a vulnerability test without causing unnecessary damage to the systems you are supposed to protect. If you would like to perform this type of penetration test, hire a consultant that is experienced and proficient in this type of exercise. In liberal way, part of your job as the ISO is to determine and assess the vulnerability of the systems you protect. Start with the simple penetration test that you know you can recover from. Then build slowly from there until you have performed a full down penetration test. The summary in this scenario is assessing the security of the systems you are responsible for as the ISO is a challenging job. Be certain you know exactly what you are doing when you hack into the system. If you are a novice, take it slow or leave the job to an experienced professional that can perform penetration tests without putting the system at risk. If you feel the knowledge you have is sufficient, perform basic tests on your system. Start with running these tests in the test or development environment, not in production. Failure of penetration testing software. Who's at fault? The software product you purchased to perform a penetration test on your information system appeared to be effective until an attack took to your company's network down. The product did not find the weaknesses that the attacker utilized. Is this the fault of your vendor, or should you have utilized human resources as well for the penetration testing? In conservative, you really should have performed two types of penetration tests to ensure the integrity of the system. Best practices recommend performing human penetration tests with a professional tester, as well as utilizing software that specializes in penetration testing. In liberal way, get a refund on the penetration testing software tool. It obviously did not do its job. Now, you need to start all over again and purchase a new tool or bring in a specialized security professional to perform the penetration test. The summary in this scenario is trust in any single tool is a recipe for disaster. Not all vulnerability assessment software tools meet the mark. Some are better than others. None are close to perfect. Make sure you thoroughly research a tool prior to purchase. Do not place the security of the information systems you are responsible for in the hands of marketing hype. Take your time and shop around. Ask questions, call references, and really know what you are buying so that you have the peace of mind that it is an effective solution to the information security needs for your business. When it comes to protecting corporate resources, it is always good to double up and use a tool and human resources, especially in the case of penetration testing. That's all for my video. Thank you for watching and see you for the next lesson.